Hope nobody's wanting a serious topic first. It's definitely.
Now let's start off nice.
Okay, ready. All right, hi, I'm Ben Rushing. I'm going to be talking about the engaging subject of why football coaches shouldn't punt. Background on me is after I graduated high school, I was given the opportunity to do an apprenticeship as a football coach, assistant football coach. And during that time, I kind of knew that told me that's what I want to do the rest of my life. That's why I'm here trying to get my teaching certificate so I can eventually get into that. The other thing, I've been researching this thing way too much. It's become a secondary obsession, if you will. I'm constantly researching ideas, stats, strategy. And so one of the crazy things I found out was that somebody out there is not punting. So this is not a hypothetical. This is not something I pulled out of my mind and said, hey, maybe we should do this. And somebody else has done it first. So I can't take credit for it being an original idea. The person that's done it is Kevin Kelly out of Pulaski Academy. It's in Little Rock, Arkansas, if you're interested in knowing. And basically, because I'm pretty sure most of us are not very passionate on this issue, we're probably pretty neutral, I'm going to look at this from the pros and the cons of both sides of this. And so the first thing I want to talk about is what most coaches say they already know, and that's the advantages of punting. First thing, it gives your defense field position, and most coaches have this viewpoint that they're further down the field, it's going to be easier for them to stop their opponent from scoring on them. And it gets your opponent further downfield. They also have to take more time if they slowly go up the field. And a lot of some coaches prefer that the time goes down at a fast rate because they want to end the game earlier. They want to force the other team to get desperate later in the game. But the other thing is it has a rare possibility of causing another turnover via a muffed punt or a fumbled punt return. You see that's happened sometimes in games, not often. And the other thing, you've probably seen this plenty of times where somebody dives close to the end zone trying to down the ball right before it crosses the goal line. You can do that, and that gives your defense a better chance at scoring a safety, which gives you the ball back. Now, there are some disadvantages, of course, to punting. One is that your offensive line cannot be doing its job. Somebody on the punt team could let somebody through, and that punt can get blocked. And the worst-case scenario goes into the end zone for a safety. You have to give the ball back to them again. They get 2 points. They have potential to score 10 points on you in 3 plays. It's not a good thing to happen. They could recover it, score a touchdown, and hopefully the best-case scenario, you tackle them there and get worse field position than if you would have just gone for it and failed. Now, there's also, say you do get the punt off. There's no guarantee that your punt team's going to be able to stop the guy who's the return man. Now, this only happens 1% of all punts in the NFL that somebody scores a touchdown off of a block punt or a return punt for a touchdown. But even then, there's a third thing, and that is even if you get the punt, you get the ball down in a good field position, your punt team goes out there and makes the tackle. There's no guarantee your defense can even stop your opponent from scoring if when they take the field. Now, example, last year, the New England Patriots, they scored 54% of the time that their drive started off with a punt. And their opponents only scored 29.5% when they started with a punt. So the stronger team had a clear advantage over a weaker team that chose to punt. Now, of course, there are some bad things to the alternative, which is going for it. The first one is you give up the ball wherever they stop you. And it could be an inconvenient spot. It could be close to your own goal line. There's maybe not a good chance your defense is going to stop your opponent. Second big thing, too, and this is probably the biggest reason most people don't do this, most coaches don't do it, going for it and failing can be an embarrassing situation. Coach Bill Belichick in 2009 went for a 4th and 2 against the Colts. Failed to get it. The Colts scored. He ended up not being able to tie the game to go into overtime, and he was teased, mocked, and begrudged by the sports media. That's just an internet meme from the internet itself of fans criticizing the guy. And the other thing, even if you do get it, the weird thing is you can be criticized as unsportsmanlike and unkind to your opponent, and insulting, if you will. This happened to head coach Kevin Kelly at Pulaski Academy. He had a 29-0 lead on an opponent before that opponent even had a chance to touch the ball. He was criticized heavily. Now, the internet didn't know, the vast majority of people on the internet didn't know, the opponent he did that to was a very strong opponent that went deep into the playoffs year after year. And he, of course, did that by onside kick recoveries and scoring and onside kicking, etc., etc. Now, there are some advantages for going for it, even though it sounds scary if you don't get it. And it allows weaker teams to overcome a stronger opponent. It gives you less yards to get per attempt. And converting also allows the team to keep the clock moving. And as I said, some coaches prefer to destroy that clock so their opponent gets more desperate to try to overcome that deficit. Now, Pulaski Academy, who hasn't punted but maybe twice in the past 6 years, has converted, in 2010, they had 18% of their drives result in a fourth down conversion. And of those drives that had a fourth down conversion, they scored 84% of the time. Now, baseball has a batting average. Football needs a similar stat for teams to judge the offense, and I call it the scoring average. And that is, you take your number of touchdowns, and you take the number of good field goals that occurred, you divide that up by the number of attempts they had, the number of possessions. Now, New England in 2007 was an undefeated team in the regular season. Their regular season scoring percentage, 36%. Now, Pulaski Academy had a 59% scoring average. So, basically, we know what a baseline of what we need to do to convert on fourth down to break even. And so by doing that, we know that if we get at least 36%, we got a good idea of what we need. So in conclusion, if football coaches really know mathematics, and they know odds and probability, and they trust in those things, they should stop punting, because it gives their team the maximum ability to win, and it increases their effort substantially. This is the Works Cited. If anybody has any questions, I greatly appreciate your listening, and thank you.